This episode of Engineering the Future is brought to you by Manulife, OSPE's life and health insurance partner. Thousands of engineering professionals trust the protection of Engineers Canada-sponsored insurance plans. With affordable association rates and flexible plan options, we think there could be a plan that's right for you and your family. To learn more about these exclusive life and health insurance plans, visit manulife.ca/OSPE.
This podcast is brought to you by OSPE, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers, the advocacy body for professional engineers in the engineering community in Ontario.
Welcome to Engineering the Future, a podcast presented by the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers. I am your host, Jerome James. This is part one of a special three-part series. Given the critical role that government plays in setting the agenda for the engineering ecosystem in Ontario, we invited all four candidates from the Ontario Liberal leadership race to share their vision for the future of our province and to discuss the vital role engineers and organizations can play in shaping that future. We're very happy to be joined by three of them, MPs Yasir Naqvi, Nate Erskin-Smith, and MPP Ted Hsu. From the housing crisis to climate change, join us as we explore the intersection of engineering expertise and provincial politics in Ontario. Our first candidate is Yasir Naqvi, Liberal MP for Ottawa Centre. He was first elected to Parliament in 2021. Yasir, welcome to Engineering the Future.
Thank you, Jerome. I'm really pleased to be on your podcast.
So we're going to jump right into it. As you know, Ontario is in a housing crunch at the moment. If you were Premier of Ontario, what are some of the first steps your government would take to make home ownership more affordable for people?
Yeah, that's a very important question. And as I'm traveling the province in my quest to become the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party, the issue around affordability of housing comes a lot. And we're talking about both in terms of ownership of homes or people to be able to rent a home. And I think government has a very important role to play. Provincial government even have even more important role to play. One of the most immediate things that I will do is to upload the development charges that are put on all new construction that is done across our province. Development charges are levies that are charged by municipalities to pay for public infrastructure like water, sewer, electricity, those type of things. But they add a very significant cost on the new build, which gets all passed to the new home buyer. Just today, in fact, Globe and Mail in their editorial talked about the idea of uploading development charges by which a typical condo in Toronto, a two-bedroom in Toronto, the price will come down by almost $80,000. We know for a house, the cost is almost $135,000. So these are significant costs. But what I'm suggesting that we do is that not only province upload that cost so that the buyer is not paying and see a real reduction in prices of homes, but we give that money to municipalities based on outcomes. Create an incentive for municipalities to approve more housing, more density, especially around transit. So it's a really an important way of not only bringing prices down, but also that you're creating incentives to build more homes through municipalities. As I said, just Globe and Mail today did a editorial talking about this one particular idea, and that's how it's going to create a real impact.
You're saying that there's an element of urban design that goes into doing this, right? Like you're talking about urban density. You know, how would you say that engineers or urban design plays a role in the future of policy or the housing market?
Yeah, no, listen, engineers, architects, urban designers, they are very much part and parcel of the ecosystem that will help us build better density, build better neighborhoods. We often talk about creating those 15-minute neighborhoods where people can easily walk to all the basic amenities like grocery stores and other things that one needs. And we rely on professions like in engineering to allow for this. Not to mention building it in a way that is more sustainable as we try to fight climate change, so that more and more our builds, whether it's retrofit or new build, meet the net zero standard that we need to comply by as soon as possible.
Absolutely. That will go a long way in helping those houses be more affordable in the future if they're net zero, for sure.
Absolutely. Yes.
Moving right along, as we move towards Canada's commitment to achieve net zero emissions by 2050, what kind of actions would your government take to achieve this target in Ontario? It's a great segue.
Yeah, well, listen, climate change is real. It's a real threat. And we have a lot of work to do in order to tackle climate change. I was really proud of a Liberal government in Ontario that took dirty coal out of our electricity system. So our electric system is far more cleaner. I think we need to go a step further as we look at increasing the electrification of our grid to make it further clean and taking dirty natural gas out of the system as well. For that, we would have to, of course, invest in clean nuclear technology like SMR. We would have to invest in more renewable sources like wind and solar and energy storage as well. So there's suites of options which are becoming very affordable now available. The other thing that I really want to do, and I think this is where the economic growth for our province is going to come, is to seize the economic benefit of fighting climate change. There are trillions of dollars of investment dollars available that are looking for solutions that will ensure that we meet the global target of net zero by 2050. Given Ontario's skilled workforce, given the level of education, the number of engineers that we train and graduate, there's an incredible opportunity for us here in Ontario to be the destination, the place that comes up with the technological solutions that are needed to build an economy and lifestyle that is net zero.
So break it down for us. So what kind of jobs do you foresee engineers taking on in a future that is more sustainable?
Well, let's just look at the small example, which is important, which is around building electric vehicles, right? We're not only starting to build electric vehicles in Ontario, but also building the supply chain that goes with it. Excuse me. The batteries that are needed, all the critical pieces that are needed, not to mention the critical mineral extraction and processing that could also happen in Ontario. All these jobs are very much dependent on expertise of engineers, and they are very much part and parcel of that. But extend that to our built environment, how we build our buildings, how do we build our homes. We need better windows, better insulation, better roofs. All these require engineering solutions for us to achieve net zero. Similarly, in the manner in which we use electricity, there's a lot of work that is happening on nanogrids or distributive electricity systems where densely populated neighborhoods can share electricity, almost like an Uber model where the electricity you're not using, you can share with your neighbor and they pay for it. These are all technological solutions that are very much dependent on engineers in Ontario to play a very leading role. And I see an exciting opportunity for them leading the way as a profession in making net zero a reality for us in our lives.
We hope you're enjoying this episode so far. At OSPE, we're here for you, making sure government, media, and the public are listening to the voice of engineers. You can learn more at ospe.on.ca.
Well, you've touched on something that I want to get into a little bit more about energy of the future. So as society moves away from fossil fuels, this gap in energy will be made up through electrification. Some estimates say that Ontario needs upwards of double its current energy capacity output to meet future demands. What would a future Liberal government under your leadership do to solve this looming issue?
Well, you're absolutely right. We need to produce more electricity as we electrify so much aspects of our lives, right? Electric vehicles, electric buses are just one part of that overall change that is taking place. The other thing we have to accomplish while we're producing more electricity, that is clean electricity. It is net zero emitting electricity. Ontario is a leader in North America because of a very important, bold change that the previous Liberal government made in Ontario, which is to take dirty coal out of electric system. So we have a big part there. I think we need to take the next step, which is to take dirty natural gas out of our system, as I was mentioning earlier. But in order to do that, we need to produce more electricity. I think this is where there's a lot of opportunity for us to invest in clean nuclear power and looking at small modular reactors that could be deployed in smaller communities, especially up in the north in indigenous communities. This is where we need to look at more energy production through solar and wind. And not to mention energy storage, because if you can store electricity that's produced through wind or solar, then it could be deployed later as well. All these things, as the technology is developing, becoming far more feasible and far more affordable. And that is how, in my view, we'll be able to increase our supply, but doing it at the same time that it's cleaner electricity, which will reduce our emission as well.
It sounds like we're going to have to tool the next generation to be able to move into these new jobs to support these big infrastructure projects.
Jerome, it's almost like it's the next wave of industrial revolution, no doubt about it, right? And so I talk about creating a good paying jobs plan in Ontario, and those good jobs are going to be all these jobs that is harnessing the economic advantage of fighting climate change, right? So we always think of fighting climate change as something that we have is the right thing to do, of course, but there's an economic opportunity here as well, because the entire world, the entire globe is looking for those solutions. And given our really well qualified professionals like engineers in Ontario, we have a tremendous capacity to harness and create those solutions and create good paying jobs for all Ontarians.
So I'll ask you this. What would you say is the government's role to play in supporting the next generation of engineers? Is that increased scholarships, innovation grants? What do you see as government's role in supporting this innovation boom?
The government is a big player and actor in this, along with, of course, private sector. I think we have to work with them in partnership. But when it comes to our post-secondary institutions like our universities and colleges, government obviously is the biggest funder. And so let's create affordable way of our young people to pursue these professions that going to create a really significant benefit for all of us. If our students graduate from college or university with little to no debt, so that they can start building lives and start contributing to the economy. I think the other area, Jerome, I will mention is that we're also bringing a lot of talented people from across the world, people who are engineers by profession or architects or other related professions. We need to have a better system to qualify them and get them licensed as quickly as possible so that they could be part of the workforce and meet the demand that we have in our economy.
Let's switch gears again and talk more about the democratic process, getting elected. You hear all the time that there's an overabundance of lawyers and business people who end up elected to government. Would you agree that we need more technically minded people, such as engineers, interested in politics, getting elected and contributing to policy decisions?
Absolutely. We need people from all backgrounds, right? Like the government's capacity to make the best decisions based on the people who participate in the process of decision making. And for that, it is just not sufficient that people who've studied political science or people who have practiced law are the ones that participate in the process. We need more engineers. We need more doctors. We need more accountants. We need more women. We need more women engineers. as part of that decision-making process in elected office, in bureaucratic, in government offices, because it's those perspectives and those expertise that will allow us to make better decisions. We all bring our own set of perspective, whether it's our lived experience or our professional experience, and by ensuring that we encourage more engineers to run for office, to put their own name on the ballot, is going to benefit all of us.
And getting involved in groups like OSPE that lobby and get involved with provincial politics and provincial white papers that actually get seen by their provincial counterparts to actually make a change or promote engineering ideals or engineering ideas that can make a difference in the province.
Yeah, no, listen, I've really benefited from working with engineers, whether it's through OSPE or PEO, because you are able to bring your experience to fore. And for somebody like me, who's not from an engineering background, it's a good place to get educated about issues, because you are able to share the impact of public policy that we're trying to create as elected representatives from your professional experience. Only you can really provide that insight. And so those type of relationships are really healthy. So you're absolutely right, Jerome. You don't have to be elected to be able to contribute to the public policy making. There are different other routes as well, by being part of professional organizations like yours who pay a lot of attention to public policy and how it impacts the profession or the economy. All those channels are really important in making decisions that will benefit everyone in our province.
And if someone wanted to get involved in the political process, maybe they're not involved with OSPE, maybe they're just like getting to understand the political process better, what would you say is the best way to get educated and be in the know and help out in the process?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways. I mean, one of those ways is to reach out to your elected representatives, whether it's members of parliament or provincial parliament or city councillor, and engaging with them. We live in a democracy with multiple parties. That's a very important part of the democratic process. I encourage people, if you are interested in politics, join a party, pick a team. And by picking a team doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything the team says or does, but you have an opportunity to contribute, to help shape policies at a party level as well. So that's how I got involved in politics when, as early as in my high school years, I joined the Liberal Party and got involved in election campaigns and involved with the local riding association and then policy conventions, and on it goes. But the reason I kept involved because I really felt that I was able to make a contribution to the important discussions that impacts our province and our country.
Yasir, thank you so much for your time and insights. It's been a great conversation.
Thanks, Jerome. Really a pleasure having this conversation with you.
It's clear that engineers hold a critical role in tackling some of the biggest issues facing Ontarians today, and collaborating with government is essential for success. But of course, you don't have to put your name on a ballot to have your voice heard. That's the value of becoming an OSPE member. We're the voice of engineers in Ontario, and together we can help shape a more affordable, sustainable future for the province. Thanks again for listening. I'm your host, Jerome James. You've been listening to Engineering the Future, and we'll see you next time.
From all of us at OSPE, the Ontario Society of Professional Engineers, thanks for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode.